how men manipulate women. Welcome to the Hopefulist with me, Wendy McClure. This is where we turn those nasty, negative thoughts into positive and work toward a happy, fulfilled life. Now, let's get started. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Hopefulist. I appreciate you. And thank you so much for being here. A little update on my quest to never diet again. Well, the quest is over. I have gone back and forth with this, back and forth, and I have decided that I just don't like the way I feel in my body right now. I just can't get on board with it. I know that bodies come in different shapes and sizes, and it's okay. And I realize that it is okay for you to be in any body size that you feel comfortable in. But that and hence is the problem that I'm having, is I don't feel comfortable in this body. I'm about 10 pounds more than I normally have been for the last couple of years. And even with that, before that 10 pounds, I was always trying to lose 10 pounds. So I'm really up like 20 pounds. And I just don't feel good. I don't feel good about my body, about myself, about where I am with my health. I feel like it's an extra effort to get up out of a chair. I feel like every time I bend over, it's harder and harder to get back up. I mean, and I know some of this is because of age. You know, I wake up with a lot of aches and pains that I didn't used to wake up with. And you know what? It sucks. And I always say getting old is not for sissies. And boy, ain't that the truth. But I have detailed a health plan for myself that I think is doable for me without being overly restrictive. And I'm going to try and start out to be, a little restrictive in the beginning to try and push off, to try and get a little bit of a running start. We'll see how it goes. The number one important thing that I'm going to keep in mind is to give myself grace, to allow for mistakes and not beat myself up over it. Because the thing that I loved the most about this no dieting quest was I didn't have any guilt. And that has been so freeing to me. So I'm going to do my best. And if I slip up, that's okay. I'm allowed. I'm going to do my best. And I'm going to allow for slip-ups. And I'm going to allow for treats. I'm not going to say no to lunch with the girls or a happy hour gathering with some of my friends. I'm not going to stop living my life because of my health plan. But I do feel the need to get some weight off and to feel a little more in sync with my body. So this is the path that I'm choosing. You have to do what's right for you, what feels good for you. And that's what we all have to do. And there shouldn't be any judgment from others. We know that there is, but judge less and maybe you won't notice the judgment as much. See what I'm saying? Okay, the quote of the day. The most dangerous woman of all is the one who refuses to rely on your sword to save her because she carries her own. I love that. I'm talking about independent women today and discussing how men have manipulated women for all time. And they continue to. So there's a lot of examples of this and things that you may not even consider because it's just always been the way it's been. And a lot of times we don't even question the way that things are. I mean, this is a patriarchal society. It is set up to make the lives of men easier. It's also set up to protect men over women. That's how it's been, and that's how it will continue to be until we, women, demand change. We have to be the ones to do it because we cannot rely on men to do it for us, because this is one of the manipulations. Men will protect us. They say that they will protect us. In fact, they consider that their job, that they protect women, and they love to say that. Well, we're your protectors. Okay, well, when Roe versus Wade was overturned and we needed you to get out and vote for the people that would do something to change that, to protect that, you didn't. You didn't. You voted for your own self-interest, as you always do. So don't say that you're going to protect us when you won't even vote in people who are going to try to let us make choices about our own bodies, and hence the direction that our lives go. So it's fine to vote for your own self-interest. That is your right. But don't say that you're protecting women then, because you are not. That's one example of the manipulation. A very common one that starts when we are quite young, teenagers, in fact, is when you're spending time with, they're not even men at that point, they're boys, and the experimentation phase, and they want you to do stuff that you don't want to do. So when you say no, or you are acting uncomfortable with the situation, they say things to you like, oh, come on, lighten up, chill out, it's no big deal. Have you ever had a guy say that to you, especially when you were young? I know I have. I have had men, I'm not even going to get into it all, but they make you seem like you're making a big deal out of something that's not a big deal. And maybe it's not a big deal to them, but it is a big deal to you. And they know that it's a big deal to you. So they try to demean you by telling you something opposite of what you think. You think that messing around with this guy is kind of a big deal. You're not sure you want to do it. Oh, come on, it's not a big deal. Come on, lighten up. Let's have some fun. Yeah, fun for them. So don't fall for this. Tell your daughters, don't fall for this. Even when, you're walking down the street and a guy starts catcalling you. And you turn around and you're like, dude, bug off. What's your problem? I was trying to pay you a compliment. Have you heard that before? Yeah, manipulation. It's exactly what it is. It is manipulating you to think there's something wrong with you for not wanting to be screamed at as you walk down the street minding your own business. There's something wrong with you for that. Manipulation in its greatest form. They also make you feel insecure by pointing out things that are wrong with you, and then make you feel lucky because they're staying with you anyway. I have a very specific example of this. It was a guy that I was dating in my early 30s. He was a master manipulator. And I remember that I was suspicious that he was cheating on me with a specific girl. And I brought up this specific girl, and I was like, I think you're cheating on me with her. And this was his response. I wouldn't be with her. She's got like pimples all over her face. Oh, okay. Well, I have pimples all over my face. And I wasn't evolved enough to think in that moment to come back with that response. Because in that moment, all I thought was, oh my God, I have pimples on my face too. But he's staying with me. I guess I should consider myself lucky. And it worked. It worked. But I did figure it out eventually because I did bring it up to him again. And I had said to him this specific instance. I said, when I brought that up, you said, she's got pimples all over her face. I wouldn't be with her. I said, well, I have pimples on my face too. And he goes, I've never said anything about it, have I? The manipulation continues. And I said to him, I said, yeah, you just did. You made it seem like there was something wrong with me, but yet you were the good guy for not saying anything about it, when hence you did. You completely said something about it. Master manipulators. These are some of the things that they do to make you feel like you should just be lucky to be with them. Ladies, don't fall for it. If a guy is pointing out your faults, he's doing it for a specific reason. He's doing it to manipulate you. So if you find yourself in that situation and it's not a back and forth conversation, it's not, well, I wish you wouldn't, do this. It's just pointing out, point blank, what you do wrong, have wrong, are wrong. That is manipulation. That is not a conversation about how to make things better in the relationship. Just pointing out flaws of the other person. That's not communicating to make things better. That is manipulating you into thinking that you're a piece of crap and how lucky you are that he's going to stay with you anyway. Let's talk a little bit about rape culture and words that we use. Crimes against women. That's how we talk about it. Crimes against women. Men are not mentioned in that at all. It's men 98% of the time doing the crimes against women. Yet they're not even mentioned in it. Why are we not saying that they're men's crimes against women? That's the patriarchy. Let's leave the man out of it. Let's not even talk about him. Because, men aren't the ones who rape women. Women are the ones who get raped. Women are the only ones mentioned in the crime. Now think about that. Doesn't that seem a little twisted? That's a patriarchal society. That we are allowing men to define things in such a way that doesn't even mention them in the crimes that they are committing. Think about it. And a lot of people haven't thought about it. And this is because it has always been this way. Let's get a little more into rape culture. Well, what was she wearing? Did she have too much to drink? Was she flirting with him? Was she asking for it? Now, are we asking the wrong questions? Because these are all typical questions when it comes to rape. When there's only one question ever asked about the man, and that is, did he do it? Did he do it? And if the answer is yes, then the questions become many toward the women. What was she wearing? What was she doing? What was she drinking? How was she acting? Again, let's think about this. Put some true thought into that. Does any of that matter? Does any of that invite a violent crime against them? I say no. I know that some people agree that it does. Again, patriarchal society, men manipulating women into believing that they invite violent crime into their lives. I'm not saying that women don't have any sort of responsibility when it comes to how we act and what we do and, the way that we behave in certain situations. But a woman is never inviting violent crime into her life. If a woman wants to dress a certain way, that is her choice. And don't tell me that it's because she was dressed scantily that she invited it. Because if that were the case, then there would be rapes taking place on the beach every single day. Again, think about it. And you're on a beach and you're wearing a bathing suit. If it was as simple as, well, look at the way she dressed. And even in that, men can't control themselves. Men can't control themselves? Seriously? If a woman comes into a bar with a little short mini skirt and a low top revealing a lot of cleavage, they can't control themselves? What does that say about men? And this starts in school. Girls getting sent home because their shoulders are showing. Girls getting way more strict dress codes than boys because they are giving you the idea from the time that you are a child that you are in charge of how men act. How absurd does this all sound when you put some time and thought into thinking about it? A 10-year-old girl gets sent home from school because she has her shoulders showing. Well, the boys are distracted. That's the girl's fault. That's the girl's fault. The boys are distracted. We're teaching them from the time that they're children that they're not responsible for their own behavior. That's what's going on. That's a patriarchal society. And that is how men have been manipulating women forever. Forever. Another thing, and this goes hand in hand with the rape culture, a lot of reasons why women don't report crimes against them is because it puts them in a situation, one, to have to relive that experience, sometimes over and over and over again, which they don't want to do. And then they put themselves in a position to be judged, to be demeaned, to have their whole life put up for display in a courtroom, in the newspapers, online. And it gives people, men, the opportunity to tear them down. I've had situations in my life where people were like, Wendy, I tried to kiss Wendy? Pfft, no, I didn't try to kiss Wendy. They demean you. They make it seem like you're disgusting and that nobody would want to do something like that to you. This is what women have to go through in order to prosecute and try to get men to be prosecuted for their crimes. The onus is on the woman. Well, prove that he did that. Why don't you prove that he didn't? Right? But for some reason in this culture, in this society, the women have to be the ones to prove, to go through all of the shaming, degrading, have their lives be examined by anyone and everyone just to get some sort of justice, to get them to pay for what they've done. And even when that does happen, then we get very little sentences because, well, he's a college student and we don't want 15 minutes of, bad judgment to ruin this poor boy's life. We've heard about them. I can cite some real cases if you'd like. What about her? Why does nobody care about how this affects her for the rest of her life? Because after the 15 minutes, he goes on with his life. Maybe he thinks about it occasionally, but she's thinking about it every day. She's been violated. She's been forced against her will. And that upends her entire world. She is now in a place where she does not feel safe. But let's worry about ruining his life, where her life has been completely changed forever. You think about certain traumatic incidents from your childhood and how that affects you throughout the rest of your life. How do you think a violent crime against you, a sexual violent crime against you, will affect you for the rest of your life? Do you think that you will ever feel safe walking down a street again? And just having to go through everything that you go through in order to just prove that this guy needs to have justice served against him. And then they give him a little pat on the hand. We'll do better in the future. Just do better. We're going to let you off this time. Just going to give you a little swat on the hand, and because we don't want you to destroy your life. We don't want to see your life destroyed because of 15 minutes. Think about this, ladies. That's what I'm asking you to do. Think about it. These are things that we are taught not to think about, that these are the things as they are. This is the way things are because that's the way they've always been. Because that's how men manipulate women. That is how a patriarchal society works. That men are the ones that are in charge, and they will protect each other over protecting you 100% of the time. I've had situations at work as well where, some improprieties have gone on, and the same thing. Men try to make you feel like you're unattractive at the very least and a disgusting human being at the very most. No, I wouldn't want it. No, I don't like her like that. Ew, look at her. Look at her. How many times have you ever heard guys say that? Really? Look at her. Come on. Like I would want that. Manipulation. That's what this is. And I just want you to start recognizing it for what it truly is. We know this is not all men. I'm not saying that it's all men. But what I am saying is that men need to stand up to other men when they see this kind of behavior. Locker room talk. We happen to know that there was a big situation where somebody was saying they could do whatever they wanted with women because they were rich and famous. And, acted like they'll just let you do it because I'm rich and famous. And when they were called out on that comment, they said, well, it was just locker room talk. Well, if that's what's really being talked about in the locker rooms, then the men, the good men, need to stand up and say, hey, guys, no. I have a daughter. I have a wife. This isn't cool. I'm not saying you can't talk about, your own stuff that you do, but if your locker room talk is about overpowering women and doing things against their will, then yeah, somebody needs to stand up and say, dude, not cool. Just not cool. Why is that so hard to ask? Because I know when I was saying that, people would be like, oh, I can't imagine that my husband would try and stand up like it. Really? You can't just say, dude, that's not cool? It's really the simplest of things. Because when guys get together with other guys and do nothing but degrade women and make them objects, it becomes normal for them. And then they feel like they can do whatever they want and get away with it because they have so many times. This is the manipulation. So don't ever, think that it's too much to ask for a man to step up and say, dude, not cool. It's really the least of the least we could ask them to do. After all, there are protectors. Remember? So these are just a couple of examples of how men manipulate women. And I mean just a couple. So I hope you put some thought into this and realize that living in this patriarchal society has just set women up to have to fight so hard just to protect themselves, just to have the right to wear what they want, to drink what they want, to be who they want, without being accused of inviting violent crime into their lives. And how women get gaslit constantly by men in relationships to make them think that they are so lucky to be with somebody who's going to accept them in spite of all of their flaws. I just want you to think about this. Talk about it with your girlfriends. Talk about it with your daughters and your granddaughters. And let's start changing the conversation. Let's start changing the vocabulary that we use. Let's stop saying crimes against women and start saying men's crimes against women. Let's stop saying that women get raped and start saying that that man raped a woman. That men rape women. Women don't just get raped. There's so much that we need to change. And the very beginning of it is the way that we speak about it. It's just the first step, but it's such an important one. So I hope that you will give this some thought and to talk about it with some other women, strong, powerful, independent women in your life. And think if there is something that you can do to change this conversation. Women should not be afraid to walk by themselves at night. I know that we are. And when we have the audacity to do so, we are then accused of inviting it. And again, think about how ridiculous that is. That a woman has the nerve to want to walk in her neighborhood at 10 o'clock at night, and she's inviting a violent crime against her for doing that. Seems a little preposterous if you really put some thought into it. But again, these are the things that we need to change. If men are the ones committing these crimes, why is it wrong for the woman to want to go for a walk by herself at night? I know we have to do it to protect ourselves. We can't do it. It's wrong. It's wrong that we can't do what we want to do, because if we do, it invites the violence. And we should have known better. It's manipulation at its finest. If you like today's episode, and I really hope that you do because it's such an important one, please share it with your friends. Please like or follow or subscribe to the podcast. You will be the very first to get the podcast when a new one is released. And check out my website if you have not. I've made some changes recently, and I'm also offering my morning routine to any new subscribers. So if you're interested in that, check out my website, Hopefulist.com. Hit that subscribe button, and you will get my morning routine, in case you're interested. So thank you so much for joining me. As always, I so appreciate it. I hope that this is the start of a brand new fabulous week for you. Now go on out there and be badass. You know I'm here cheering you on. Thank you for listening to The Hopefulist. Now, don't you feel good? Make sure you come back next week. See you then.